world premiere of the Jimmy podcast.
Exactly. on Runde.
On Runde.
Yeah.
Runde.
So, Jeremy, welcome to Scandinavia. Runde.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jeremy Knipe, wildlife photography creator, and primarily love making films about my wildlife photography journeys and adventures, and super excited to be here in Norway on Runde,
Nice.
if I can pronounce it right, and excited, just about this whole journey so far. And we've been out once capturing puffins, pretty cool experience.
Yeah. Well, nice having you. So, how long have you been into photography?
Let's see. So I've been into wildlife photography for almost 10 years now. Did commercial work and other types of work for a long time.
So you started with videography?
Yeah, started with videography, and it kind of shows in my YouTube videos, most likely.
Yeah.
Care about it a lot.
Cool. So how did you get into YouTube?
YouTube, got into partially just by accident at first.
Yeah.
Just thought it'd be fun to try out. Thought it'd be fun to try out. So gave it a try at the very, very beginning of January 2020, right before the whole COVID lockdowns and everything around the world, and just wound up enjoying it. And about 2 or 3 months into it, I realized I was, starting to grow my following, and I realized that this was something I really enjoyed doing, and realized that it was something that eventually I thought that I could build a business around. And so kind of just decided to pursue it further because of those reasons, loving it and thinking that I could build a business around it.
Cool. Was it some specific creator you watch on YouTube that you want to take after or do something similar to?
Yeah, my initial inspiration was Trond Westby, so Norwegian.
Oh, nice, Trond,
I was hoping to meet up with him on this trip, but he didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And he lives like 12 hours away from here, is what he said. So
longer than me. Yeah.
So, Norway is a pretty big country.
Yeah.
He was my initial inspiration, so you can definitely see that in a lot of my early videos.
Yeah.
However, I have definitely pulled a lot more from, I'd say maybe like other content niches since then. Probably for about the first year and a half, I was very heavily inspired by Trond Westby or similar guys, and kind of did my own slightly different replication of that.
Yeah.
But after about a year and a half, I kind of took a break to reset, kind of almost going like a sabbatical. And at that point, I kind of started to allow other influences from other types of content niches to try to make kind of my own wildlife photography video style that no one had ever been really doing before. So that's been the goal for probably the past 2 to 3 years now. And,
I think you're succeeding.
Thank you.
So what do you call yourself? A YouTuber, a creator, influencer?
Definitely not influencer. I don't like that term. Even though, to be honest, I do realize more and more as time goes on that I actually do have influence. I don't like the word because it sounds pompous, but I do have influence. I like what people buy and stuff like that. So I do take things like my gear reviews much more seriously now than I used to. I used to kind of just be someone who talked about, this is what I like about it, to try to convince people that like, this is why I'm using good like gear that I like or whatever. Trying to earn, just a little bit of money off affiliate links. But as time has gone on, I've realized that my words actually affect what people buy or things like that. And so everything I do now, I'm trying to be honest in what I'm talking about, talk about the pros and the cons, because I do have some influence on what people buy. And people tell me that they bought this because of me. So that carries a lot more weight once you hear that. But what I call myself a wildlife photography creator. Because the primary thing that I do activity-wise is wildlife photography, but I don't think I'm as devoted to the wildlife photography craft as a lot of other pro wildlife photographers. I'm more so dedicated to the content creation craft and the art of the video and the story behind the photo. And I believe that's where I really excel, and that's what kind of makes me unique, is that ability right there. And so I kind of define myself as a wildlife photography content creator or wildlife photography creator, because that's primarily how I kind of view myself. And I like to create things like the wildlife photography competition that, you know, you've taken part of, and you won the first year I ever put it on the new photographers category. I like to create things like that, create spaces for wildlife photography and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love what you do. So what equipment are you using?
So my primary gear, the one I'm using on this trip, is a Panasonic S1R and a Sigma 500mm 5.6 and a Sigma 135mm 1.8. Might use a little bit of my Sigma 24-70 2.8. So just by the list there, you can see that I use primarily Sigma lenses, and I shoot primarily with Panasonic Lumix on L mount, full frame. In terms of reasoning, I do really like Sigma. I think Sigma is an amazing lens brand, bang for buck, and in almost all ways, they will perform up to the standard that I would hope for, and at a way better price. There's only few times where I feel like those limitations get in the way, and they don't ever come into play on L mount really, because L mount is their system. So because of that, I love my Sigma lenses. I don't really see myself I never feel a need to really switch those. However, I do question a lot of times if I should be using Panasonic Lumix anymore. We were talking about that earlier, but I've kind of just locked myself into it, and I could change, but I don't know if the amount of money required to change is going to be worth it. And by the time I do, I feel like I'm gonna just wind up wanting to come back, because the way that I view a lot of the camera brand competition is that 1 year someone's gonna be on top, 2 years later you're gonna want to jump to a new brand, so on and so forth. So it makes it difficult. So while I don't claim that Panasonic Lumix is even close to the best wildlife photography camera brand out there right now, it's what I use mostly because I just have already invested into it, and I've gotten pretty good with it, I feel like.
Cool. Do you have any favorite focal length, if you have to choose one?
Yeah, favorite focal length is definitely the Sigma 135 1.8 right now. I am loving that. It gives me such a unique perspective that I feel like I hardly ever see online. I feel like you see everything 300 millimeters and up a lot, but then once you get down to like 200 millimeters, you don't usually see that shot very well. Sometimes you do, but usually it's because it's like someone who can't afford a good lens. And so usually it's not that great, but some people do shoot really good, sharp, shallow depth of field at 200, 2.8 or something. It looks amazing. So 135, I feel like gives just such a unique length where I see so few people shoot it, and it gives a good amount of scenery while still being so shallow in its depth of field that you're able to completely isolate the scene if you're creative and smart about it, the subject. And so it allows me to get just things that I feel like are unique and not replicatable. So
I agree. I have seen some of your pictures, and I would love to get one of myself someday.
Yeah, there you go.
So after spending some time here on Runde, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is I need to get better at my my Norwegian to pronounce it right. Runde.
Runde.
Runde. Alesund, trying to figure out all the names around here. All the Scandinavian friends are probably laughing at me. It's an amazing place. Flying into Norway and then driving around from island to island across the fjords and all that stuff. Just absolutely incredible. Unlike anywhere that we have in the United States. So scenery-wise, I've just been super impressed and excited so far. And the actual island here is just... it's a unique place for sure. I've never been to anywhere like it, and we got to witness so far the one puffin sunset with the fly-in, and man, that was incredible. I did not expect it to hit like it hit. It was coming around maybe an hour and a half before sunset, and I was like, man, Jimmy, you sure these puffins are going to show up? We've seen like 2 or 3 fly around, zip by, come nowhere close. I'm like, okay, Jimmy says so, so you know, they'll come. And then all of a sudden, like exactly an hour and a half before sunset or so, it just hit like a train, and it was like a tornado of black puffins just came in, and it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Nice. So I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. So after Runde, what is your future plans?
Oh man, lots.
I know you're gonna have twins.
First of all, to have some twins.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So my wife and I are super excited about that. That's going to change a lot. So I've kind of put off my wildlife photography trip plans for the next last half of 2024.
Yeah.
Pretty much just put those on hold, doing everything pretty local to get used to that new life and adjusting to that. Besides that, probably shortly after this video will come out, I'll be hosting the 3rd annual wildlife photography competition judged live on YouTube.
Nice.
So that's my favorite thing that, as you know, I do every year. Last year was amazing. We got over 600 submissions and doubled the previous year. So we're going into our 3rd year now, and I'm so excited to see how it does.
Yeah, same
and
here.
really excited for the judge lineup, which I've already locked down most of. Still working on the sponsors at this point. But probably by the time this video comes out, we'll have all the prizes listed. So excited about that coming up soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Jimmy was our new photographer's winner the first year.
That was
So
the first year.
that's how we got to know each other, I believe. So yeah.
So once again, welcome to Norway, to Runde. Glad to having you. Nice to meet you. And do you have any last words? Feel free.
Yeah, thanks for showing me around. It's been great getting to meet you in person, and I would highly recommend to anyone head over to Norway and check it out. And I would just say check out Jimmy's stuff. He's got some great stuff.
Thank you.
And I love your work and your passion for wildlife photography, and your kindness and support towards others is obvious. So I appreciate you, and look forward to just more stuff in the future.
Yeah, same here. Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Let's go photograph some puffins.
Let's do it.